Welcome to iPad Pros, the show all about using your iPad to be productive and get work done. I'm Tim Chen, host of the show.
But yeah, overall, it's great. So they added the new stabilization feature built in, so you don't need a plugin for it anymore, which is honestly amazing. The stabilization feature built into it, and it's at no extra cost. So if you had LumaFusion, you can still use it. They also added the ability to use plugins.
Welcome back to iPad Pros. On this episode, we are joined by Fernando Silva. For his 9 to 5, he works for a data analytics company where he uses his iPad as his main computer, and in his spare time, he runs a YouTube channel focused on iPad-related content. In this episode, we cover a lot of ground, including Microsoft Office on iPad, the cloud version of Windows and what that's like using that on your iPad, video editing, Affinity Photo, some accessory recommendations, what it's like using Universal Control now that it is out and available for beta users, and we even have a 4-minute Pokemon tangent on how you can bring Pokemon you caught on a GameBoy Advance all the way up through onto your Switch.
With that said, I just want to remind everyone that you can now financially support iPad Pros in 2 different places. First off, patreon.com/iPadPros. Get episodes early and with embedded MP3 chapter markers by supporting the podcast at any tier. Bonus content is also available at the higher tiers. You can also now subscribe to iPad Pros in Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcasts is an all-inclusive single subscription, so you'll get all of the bonus content plus episodes early by subscribing to the show in Apple Podcasts. By default, subscriptions are monthly, but if you go into your subscription settings in the Settings app, you can switch it to a yearly plan. My thanks to everyone that currently or has in the past supported the podcast financially. This podcast is not a quick one to produce, and your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. You can also support the podcast for free simply by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts. No matter your region, it really does help. The reviews help send the right signals to Apple to show this podcast more in search, helping others discover the show. If you have a minute today, I'd really appreciate you opening up the podcast app and leaving a review. My thanks to everyone that has already done that.
With that, here's my interview with Fernando. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Fernando.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely.
You having me.
Yeah, me, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about yourself. I know you work on the iPad, but kind of tell me, what do you do on the iPad, kind of your background with it.
Okay, so the iPad pre-2018 was just kind of like a throw-around Netflix, YouTube machine.
Yeah.
Like I would never stay up to date with the latest iPad. I think the iPad I would use to throw around was like 4 years old, like one of those, classic iPads. And then...
And how old are you for perspective?
How old am I? Oof. Oh, right now I'm 28. So
okay.
I'm thinking, when was this? We had like iPads around the house that we would always throw around and stuff like that. You know what I mean? When I was like in high school.
And
then
iPads
I never really had my own.
for just never dying and people using like
exactly.
You
always pick it up. Yeah. Always pick it up. There's always juice on it. So if like somebody's watching something on the TV, you can put something else on the iPad.
Right.
But yeah, and then in like 2017, I think it was, my dad got the first gen iPad Pro, that big 12.9 inch with the bezels, that Apple Pencil that's stuck on the bottom. Mm-hmm. He got that. He used it for like a year. He really liked it, and then he just stopped using it. Okay. So I was like, can I borrow it? Let me try this thing out. Right. Yeah. And then that's when I started to realize, this thing's kind of like crazy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like clunky to move around, especially that form factor. Right, it's kind of clunky, but it's like really fast. It handles every app that I throw at it. Right, it was still, I think it was running like iOS 12 at that point. Yeah, or maybe iOS 11. But LumaFusion was already out, so I was playing with LumaFusion a little bit and iMovie first, and then that's when I realized when I started exporting stuff that I was like, this thing is kind of fast. Yeah, right. It's ugly looking and it's clunky, and I don't know where it really fits in like a professional world, but it's fast. Yeah. And then once Apple released that 2018 iPad Pro, I was like, this thing. It's so beautiful. Yeah. and it works so well. And then iPadOS 13, I jumped into the beta program and I just kind of started falling in love with it. And basically I started to move my workflow into ways that I could move it into the iPad, right? Because I just had so much more fun using the iPad. Even if it took me a little longer to do something that was faster to do on a PC or on Mac OS, I would still go to the iPad just because it was more fun to use and it looked prettier and it was easy to move around. And people will be like, "Oh, what are you using? That's not a laptop." Especially back in 2018, before iPads were like, like now everybody knows what an iPad is,
right?
Especially
they're more common now. You have the Magic Keyboard thing. I even saw that on
exactly
like a This Is Us episode, one of the main characters had the iPad Pro and a Magic Keyboard. It's like that guy's on an iPad. That's crazy.
Yeah. Which is wild. Yeah, because before the 2018 iPad Pro, all the iPads looked the same, and then the 2018 just looked like a slab of glass. You know, it was really pretty. But yeah, so I mean, I use my iPad for pretty much everything. You know, email, iMessage, LumaFusion edits. I use Affinity Photo for all my thumbnails. I use the whole Microsoft suite to run both like the channel finances, but then also I use it for work when I'm on the go. So it's just been the perfect machine for everything. The only thing that I wish I did get was more storage.
Yeah.
I cheaped out on the storage, so I went baseline.
And you're on the 2018 today?
I'm actually on the new one, the M1.
Okay.
So I was on the 2018. I skipped the 2020 because there was no reason to get it.
Sure.
And even this one, there wasn't a big reason to get it. I'll be honest.
Are you on the 12.9 or the 11?
12.9.
Okay.
That's what we got right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the big guy.
Excellent. Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure.
Of course, it's dead right now.
Right. Now, I'm not sure is Thunderbolts. That seems like one thing that with video work and hooking up stuff to it that down the line that could be a thing in retrospect worth having the newest one for.
It definitely is if it's in your workflow. But keep in mind, like with mine, I use my iPhone for everything to record.
For capture. So offloading video,
and an AirDrop.
just going through AirDrop, right?
Yeah. AirDrop everything. So I haven't used an SD card in like 5 years.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So
and for saving, for offloading videos, do you archive your projects on like an external, or how's that work for you?
I archive the final edit. So I don't really keep any clips unless I think there's some are nice for like maybe future B-roll or something. But for the most part, I just delete everything and then offload it onto a little RAV Power SSD that I have, like a 500 gig one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I just kind of keep everything there. That one is finally, after like 2.5 years, it's finally like running out of space. Because now I'm recording in 4K. You know, sometimes I got it 60 FPS. Now with the cinematic mode, whenever you video capture with cinematic mode, the files are huge.
Is it capturing multiple video streams, or how do you know the logistics behind that?
I don't know the technicalities of it, but I don't know what it's doing. It's got to be working pretty hard, and that's probably why the files are so big, because it's kind of amazing. Have you played with cinematic mode a lot?
I haven't. I'm still on the 12 mini. At some point, I'm going to get the 13 mini when it's very cheap, and it's very well known that the 14 isn't small anymore. So that's what I'll upgrade to the 13 mini, and I'll stay on that for a while, I think.
Side note, the mini is a great form factor.
It is.
I picked the 13 mini, but I ended up returning it because I was like, I don't need two iPhones.
Right.
But I played with it for like a week or two. The form factor, I got used to it in a second. So for people that think it's too small, it's not too small.
Yeah, I wish the mini launched in non-pandemic times, like maybe a year or so before that, because I think people just didn't have it in their hands to know, and no one went to the stores once the pandemic hit, and the mini just got. I don't know. That's my crackpot theory of why no one bought the mini, but
no, I mean that makes sense. And then also with like people being at home, they just wanted a bigger screen,
right?
Like a bigger screen that they could watch whatever they wanted on. So I mean, if it came up pre-pandemic and people were out and about, it's just like a quick little powerful phone that does everything you need it to when you need it to. You know, although I heard the battery,
especially if the iPhone launched in June like it used to in the heat of summer, where people don't have big pockets. You know,
that's true. That's true.
Anyways,
but
yeah. So,
but that's how I use my iPad. You know, for pretty much everything.
So, what do you do for work? You mentioned video creation. You mentioned financial stuff. Like, what all do you do?
So for my 9 to 5, I work for a data analytics company, and we work a lot with QR codes. We're basically an ID management platform.
Okay.
But so what I do is I manage a lot of meetings, right? So we're in Google Meets a lot. So I live in the Google Suite. We use Gmail for our main work email, so I'm in there a lot. And then inside of Google Docs, I never use the applications. The applications for Google Docs on iPad OS are horrific.
Do you turn them into web apps? Like
I do turn them into web apps.
You do? Okay.
I should put them on my home screen, but they're just bookmarked in Safari.
They're just bookmarked. Okay. Yeah. I know some web apps actually they're siloed off into like their own unique apps. I wasn't sure if Google actually does that or not.
I could probably actually do that because I've seen apps that do that. But the thing is, if you keep the physical app that you get off the App Store on your iPad, every single time you go into the web app, it'll just open that. So make sure you delete them if you guys are Google people.
Yeah.
Get them off your iPad because they're terrible. 0 Apple Pencil support, which I hate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wild, right? I've used Microsoft's apps are crazy good on the iPad.
Yeah.
And Google just has invested $0 into it.
Yeah.
They
finally support split screen, but they're still missing some key things.
Yeah. But But yeah, so I'm in usually the new Workspaces suite, I think they're calling it, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I live in there. And then for the YouTube side, I'm in Affinity Photo, I'm in freaking LumaFusion, and then I'm in the YouTube Studio app a lot. And sometimes I do prefer the Safari version of YouTube Studio. But yeah, just answering comments, making sure my descriptions are set, making sure all the administrative stuff on the YouTube side is all good to go. So it's kind of been a workhorse, and I've never thrown something at the iPad that it hasn't been able to handle. If anything, like it handles like 100 lines of or 100 rows of Excel better than Mac OS does, which is wild.
That's crazy,
right?
Yeah,
both on Excel too. So I just think the iPad is just way more optimized. But I just need something a little bit more on the iPad side.
Yeah. Dealing with Excel, was that a thing that became a thing because of trackpad support?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It was.
Like, how big of a deal was trackpad for like work apps? Like, could you do your day job without trackpad?
No, I could not.
Okay.
I could not.
Yeah.
Like 13.4 cursor support. I always say in my videos, it changed the iPad as a product, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is very rare to see, right?
Yeah,
like you buy one product and then like over time it changes into another one, just with a software update, right? And an accessory. So like having cursor support, that 13.4 cursor support, and then apps being able to adopt that. Because it also took a little while for Microsoft to be able to do simple things like, like shift and being able to highlight multiple rows with the mouse. But eventually it did come over. So in my opinion, unless you're going crazy with like pivot tables and you got like millions of rows of data and things like that, like it can handle 99% of Excel tasks.
Okay.
Which is cool.
That's cool. Now, pivot tables, are they in Microsoft Excel? They're just not implemented as well? I know Numbers like added that. It's like, what are pivot tables? I'm not an Excel guy.
Yeah, so I've had to do so much research because I don't personally use pivot tables, but all of my videos based on Microsoft, people are like, oh, can you do pivot tables? Like, I can't do pivot tables. So I'm not 100% what they're used for, but it basically like consolidates data, but also pulls data from other Excel sheets.
Okay.
So the idea is like you change something in one file, it'll change the other file, right? But it works on the iPad. You can manage so if somebody sends you a file with a current pivot table, you can work with it. Yeah. You cannot create a pivot table from scratch.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, why? I don't know. Because it's probably fully capable of doing that. But maybe it has something to do with how like the data is managed in the back end and how the files talk to each other.
Okay.
Because that's another thing. The file system on iPad OS needs to just turn to Finder.
It really needs an overhaul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when people say Finder, that also like a different version of Finder, right? Because I don't ever expect them to do like access the library of your iPad OS and getting into that kind of stuff. But the Files app, it feels like needs like a version overhaul in a big way.
I've tried to like figure out what I don't like about it. It's like hard to describe what you don't like about the file system in iPad OS, but you just know that you don't like it.
Right. Because the file system, it mainly presumes you're online with iCloud and stuff, but there's also the on my iPad thing. Like, I don't know what I want changed. I want something changed. I'm not quite sure how.
Like, they kind of added that like progress bar, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. So you can finally see how long it's going to take your file to transfer, which baffles me. It took them like until 2021 to do that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what I would be like, hey, Apple, change it into this. I wouldn't know what to say.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it works fine.
Well, you still can't pin files. They announced that and pulled it and never put it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of the betas. You could pin your files so it's always downloaded from iCloud, and then that's one of the things that's like, that would be a really nice thing for iCloud.
No, but managing files on the iPad is a nightmare. Like, you're right. Like, I have on my iPad, I just have a bunch of random stuff. But then sometimes, like, whatever I put on my Mac computer also shows up on my iPad sometimes.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Apple needs to do a better job of, like, teaching people how to use iCloud in general.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like iCloud's pretty powerful, but a lot of people get confused. Even I do sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and shortcuts this year, thanks to the Mac having shortcuts, we finally can do some file stuff there. Like, I have one automatic script for an app that doesn't support iCloud Drive. It only supports local files, to just automatically back up my local iPad files to an iCloud Drive folder whenever I close the app. So
nice.
I think it's Dorico. So whenever the app Dorico closes, it just copies all the files from iPad internal storage of Dorico onto an iCloud folder that's like backup Dorico. So that's a cool thing you can now do with the shortcut stuff with files management.
That's interesting. is that like a lot, or is it just for that one application?
It's just for that one app. You could hypothetically have the entire iPad's local files just back up to iCloud if you wanted to, kind of like a time machine thing, but not really, because you wouldn't have version, but yeah.
That's kind of crazy. No, yeah, I haven't played too much with shortcuts, aside from like changing your icons and stuff like that. Like, I like that. I mean, I wish Apple got rid of that.
And just added icon changing? That'd be nice.
Yeah, right? Like, let us change the icons if we want to.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college, that's when I first got my Mac, and I would do all sorts of like custom icons and just had fun with it, you know?
Yeah. I used to love jailbreaking iPhones. I used to love doing that.
Yeah, that was so cool, right? Back in the day.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, I was doing it before there were like official apps. It's like, look at this.
Yeah. Like getting Cydia before there was the App Store.
Yep.
I remember my dad using that to like unlock his iPhone, the first one. He had to like go overseas, and it was still like tied to AT&T. He's like, I can only do it if I jailbreak it.
Yeah, and iPad 3G had unlimited data back in the day. I was on that plan from AT&T.
Oh, really?
They pulled it after like 3 months and decided that's too good of a deal. But I jailbroke it and had the My 3G Wi-Fi app thing where I could tether from my iPad.
Yeah.
That was wonderful back in the day.
That's so funny. Yeah. Now, have you seen the... I think people still jailbreak their iPhones.
It's a thing, but like I don't get exactly why.
Like, why would you want to anymore? Like, the only reason maybe is
emulators,
to get like a cool, a great emulator. Like, I was thinking, like, oh, I kind of want to play Pokemon.
Yeah. And I'd probably do that on my iPad. Quite frankly, like I'd rather have a bigger screen with controller, that kind of setup.
I remember on my last iPhone, I had the 11 before this 13.
Yeah.
I saw somebody posted on Twitter that a GBA emulator snuck into the App Store, like it passed something.
Yeah.
And I guess I got it on time. I downloaded it because then the next day it was gone.
Right.
So I had that GBA emulator, which worked perfectly.
Oh, that's great.
I was playing. It worked for like 2 years until I had to upgrade to the 13. I couldn't keep it.
Yeah. It's a shame, yeah.
So
that's one thing I really wish there was a solution for that. Like the whole like third-party app stores. Like I just want emulators. Like just give me an emulator.
So apparently, because of Apple getting trashed with all this the lawsuits with Fortnite and all that stuff, did you hear about that?
What about it?
That now Apple is working on a way for people to be able to sideload applications into iOS and iPadOS.
That'd be cool.
They're probably not going to like advertise it. They're probably just making something available to say like, if they really want it, they can just figure out how to put it on their iPhone. You know, It's allowed now. Like, they're probably not going to make it a great process,
right?
But it's going to be available at some point, I think.
Okay.
Because then they could get everybody off their back with all the legal lawsuits.
Yeah, I've done the alt store thing where you need a Mac talking to your iPad every 7 days type thing.
I've seen that too.
A family member has a Mac, then and it's like, I need to borrow your Mac to refresh my iPad. So I did that when I was going through the Metroid games for the first time, and needed the games that I couldn't get on my Nintendo consoles because Nintendo's weird.
No, that's what I would do to get GBA for iOS. That was my favorite, like the Delta emulator or whatever. Just play Pokemon all day long. That I would do, or my like Dragon Ball Z game.
Right. So, back on track because I could get a side tangent on Pokemon because I'm working on completing my living Pokedex and Sword and Shield.
Oh, really?
I have quick tangent. I have every Pokemon in the living Pokedex in Pokemon Home up through Alola, and I'm working on the Sword and Shield. So I have like every single.
Wait, so how far back does it go?
I'm not sure. Let me pull up my my thing here.
Yeah, like how many Pokemon is that? At that point,
that is 721 Pokemon.
Yeah. And they're all saved on where are they right now?
Pokemon Home. It's this service Nintendo's offers, and there is an iOS app as well.
I heard about that. Okay.
There are different apps on the Switch and on the iPad and iPhone. On the iPad and iPhone, that's where you can do your trading and stuff and finding Pokemon, and then you kind of manage your Pokemon on the Switch, and it'll organize them automatically into the different regions of the Pokemon, and you can sort them into different boxes. And
what?
So I have every single one, including every Vivillon form. Pokemon X and Y was my first Pokemon game I ever played. That's when I got back in the gaming with the Nintendo 3DS. And
that was the first one?
Yeah, that was my very first one, X and Y, and I went down the rabbit hole of buying a GBA and earning all the Pokemon and transporting them through the GBA to a DS.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I did the Poke Transporter, and I actually went through old games and like transport them all the way up into like the current generation of the Switch, which is crazy.
How far back did you go?
What's that?
How far back? Like all the way to like the red,
the fire red, yeah, fire red, leaf green. Because the GBA is like that's the very first. No, those are the remakes of the first Pokemon games.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts. Where Pokemon from that point on you can move Pokemon from GBA all the way up through Nintendo Switch if you have the hardware.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy that Nintendo has that like ability? Cool. So you can earn Pokemon GBA Pokemon because you'd have to put that. Basically, you put the GBA Pokemon in a DS that supports the GBA cartridges because there were certain GBA.
I remember those.
Yeah, so I had a DS that had the GBA cartridge support. So put it in there, and then you transport in the DS game, and then you use Poké Transporter on like a 3DS because that also works with DS games. And then from Poké Transporter, you can get in the bank, and then bank in the home, and then they're on your Switch.
That's crazy. So you have Pokemon that you got from Fire Red.
Yeah.
On an app in your phone.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts?
That's cool.
Yeah.
So wait, have you been playing the new one? Like Arceus?
I haven't. I finished the story in Arceus, but then I really like this, and I opened up Sword and Shield and finally finished that game.
Okay.
And I've been going through and completing the Sword and Shield Pokedex. I'm getting pretty close on that one. Because then I got the hunch of
I haven't played since Pokemon Black. I don't think.
Okay.
That's as high as I went. But I played like the OG ones. Like I had Pokemon Blue as a kid. And I still have red and yellow and like silver.
Yeah, there's something somewhere. Oh no, very addictive about the collecting nature of the games.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
But anyways, that's a tangent.
That's cool. I knew you had to be able to do that, but I always wondered like how far back you could go to physically move a Pokemon.
Yeah,
off of the game.
It's a fun thing. Like. I'm doing this. And you don't need that much hardware. You need a DS that supports the GBA cartridge.
Yeah.
You need a 3DS, and then the Switch or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have what do I have? Nah, I just have my Switch. I got a 2DS somewhere.
Okay. Yeah.
As far back as I go.
Yeah. 3DS is
that like flat one.
Right. Oh boy.
That's funny.
Yeah. So back to iPad stuff.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start your YouTube channel?
2 years ago now.
Okay.
I want to say like 2019.
Okay, and
maybe 3 years. Nah, 2 years. I mean, okay. So that channel's been around actually. So if you go back, I think I got videos from like 2014 of me doing tech reviews.
Yeah. But
I think I did maybe like 12 total videos in like a span of a couple months back then, and then I just got kind of bored of it.
Yeah.
And then life, I think I went to like college or something. Life took over, and then I just picked up the channel one day because that's who I saw. Okay, so I saw. Have you ever heard of Nick Fagan's Average Tech Guy?
I think so. Yeah.
So I remember 2 years ago I was watching his channel and I was like this looks kind of like fun to do,
Yeah.
Like let me just I love this iPad. I could talk about this iPad for freaking forever.
Yeah.
Right. I do anyway at work. Or I just put it on camera and Nick never showed his face. Mm-hmm. Now he does, but he never showed his face. So I was like, let me do the same thing. I don't need to show who I am.
Yeah.
Let me do it on the low,
Right.
So that's what I started doing, just doing iPad videos, like the best games for the iPad. I joined the beta program to get the betas early.
Yeah.
Right, the developer program. So then I would do iOS update videos, iPadOS update videos, that kind of stuff, what was cool. And then once you could use accessibility to use a mouse on the iPad. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when it kind of started to blow up a little bit. I was like, people are really interested about these betas and stuff. And that's kind of what happened. And now I just do anything that involves iPad, accessories, apps, software updates. Because, this thing is awesome. But I always go back to my same setup, just on my Magic Keyboard with my Apple Pencil.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, I know there's not external display support, but will you use your iPad if you're at work with an external display and a Magic Trackpad and external Magic Keyboard as a setup, or is it always in laptop configuration?
So what I'll do sometimes, I'll do that every once in a while. Normally I'll do that for setup videos just to give people ideas and kind of get creative, maybe break the norm. But normally what I do when I'm editing a LumaFusion video, I will plug it in because I have a nice BenQ monitor, and then you can use. It's kind of secondary monitor support. So you can use the entire, right? Yeah, you can use it as a viewfinder. So it's at least a little something.
Yeah.
Right? Just so I can make sure the colors are looking nice and stuff like that and get a bigger view. But outside of that, it's pretty much in laptop configuration.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's kind of easy. And I always tell people the multitasking, I wish it was better. Trust me. I'm on the same page. I wish it was better. But there's something about like getting something done on the iPad. It's just very, since there's only like one thing you can do on it really at the same time, maybe two.
Yeah.
You like ultra focus on that one thing,
right,
and you get that thing done. Yeah. Versus here, I have Mac OS open. I have like a couple of work files open. There's, a paused YouTube video on the top corner. Like iMessage is down here. I have you on the iPhone. So it's like on the iPad, you're just there. You're getting that job done, right? That's what I always tell people. It's the ultimate like single task productivity machine.
You mentioned you do use a Mac for a couple things. Universal control is a thing now. You're in the betas, I presume. How is that going? Is like dragging files across from one device to the other working well? Is that better than AirDrop? And like, how's that all going?
So that's a good question. So I haven't been playing too much with the files. I did it to test it, and it was pretty quick, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mostly use it, so I'll have my iPad kind of be like my control center.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll have that in front of me, and then I'll have my my like monitor and my Mac kind of open at the same time. But I'm using my Magic Keyboard on the iPad to control everything. So that's what I think is cool.
Oh, right. There's not the other way around. That's interesting.
Not the other way around.
Because the way it was kind of advertised is you're using your Mac's keyboard and mouse on your iPad. I didn't even know you could do it the other way around.
So you do need to get it started on the Mac, at least for right now.
Yeah.
But like once it's like going, you can use either or.
And then like, you just start using the trackpad on the the other device and just, I'm going to use this one instead.
Exactly. So I can like close my Mac
at the same time. Does it just get confused?
That's a good question. We should try that actually. Well, one thing that it's probably just a bug that'll get fixed. So if you have like in that situation where I have usually my iPad's like sitting in front of me, and then I have my monitor like kind of sitting above it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So in order to I would drag the mouse down into the iPad screen, which works fine. But then when I try to drag that mouse back up into that monitor, it pulls down the notifications.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you have to like find, there's like a little top right corner that you can, between the control center and the notifications and the software
on your iPad. Yeah.
Swipe down or right. That you can get up there. So they probably got to work that little kink out. Because if you have it side by side, it works perfectly.
Yeah.
If you just, But universal control it's very cool. I mean, just like the demo itself, I think it's very cool. Like, in what other situation can you use two different OSs to talk to each other with one peripheral, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
I think Logitech has something like that, but still it's kind of wild.
It is, yeah. I wish it was just an iPad OS feature where I could control a second iPad with an iPad. That's what I really want next year.
You can. I think you can.
Well, you need a Mac involved.
You do need the Mac involved.
Yes, I want no Mac. I just want to sit in front of two iPad Pros with one Magic Keyboard and just drag across.
Just go to work.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, right?
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, because I've seen people have like one Mac and then just like a bunch of iPads.
Right.
And just have
you have a Mac Mini hiding somewhere, just control universal control. Yeah. I guess Matthew Castanelli discovered in the betas, at least, you can control like one more device than Apple advertised as you being able to do somehow, like 3 iPads or something. It's kind of wild.
Okay.
I don't know how he's doing that, but
yeah, I don't know. But you can control. So I have the M1 MacBook Air, right? And I just took it down because I just moved, but I'm probably going to put it back up. I had 2 displays running, and I was using a Display Link ready USB-C hub. So I was able to control with the Magic Keyboard on the iPad, the MacBook screen, and both of those monitors, and regular iPad screen.
Yeah.
All going.
That's pretty sweet.
And it worked pretty well. It's a little bit buggy at times, but it worked pretty well, especially on the first beta.
I was going to ask how yeah, I should ask this. Yeah. If you're using your Mac keyboard has volume control. When you're controlling your iPad, do those volume controls come across? Like those other function keys, I think there's like...
So basically wherever your mouse is what the peripheral will control.
Okay.
And what screen it will control.
Okay.
Yeah, so because cool. I do remember with the brightness. So brightness you can modify your brightness on the iPad from the Mac.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
One thing that I'd be curious to see is if, because you saw that there's that new toggle and control center for the iPad OS for keyboard brightness.
Yes, yep.
I wonder if you can control the keyboard brightness of your Mac computer with the control center on the iPad.
I wouldn't think so, because it's a control center for that device. If there was a hotkey, if the Magic Keyboard for iPad magically had a function row, I mean, come on. I would say it could do that, but no.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm very excited for that new ability coming out later this year, the keyboard brightness and control center for iPad, because often I'm trying to watch a video at night and I don't want that thing shining every time I touch it.
It's so bright.
And at the same time, I also don't want to jump into settings to like, so that'll be so nice.
You have to go so deep into the settings, which again, I don't know. Apple's really good at like saying new features when they should have been around for forever.
Yeah. I mean, the dream that would be able to automate it. Like I'm watching a video and it automatically can just like,
it'll just know.
I've set some shortcuts that I could set up to configure that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, with LumaFusion, is there anything lacking from there that you kind of hope to see them add? Like, what's your typical workflows within the app, and how is it limiting if it is?
So LumaFusion, from a function standpoint, I think it's great, and it's only getting better. What it does need to improve is that, so I guess I could also do a better job personally managing all the files and all the clips that go into it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of redundancies with the file management inside of LumaFusion. So basically, when I take something from my photo library on my iPhone, airdrop it to my iPad, there's a copy of my photo library on the iPad.
Yeah, is your photo library a mess with all this work that you do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, I turn off all like iCloud photos. I have to.
Yeah.
Because everything gets all jumbled up. So it's like things are, at least I know where they are, like where they're supposed to be. But yeah, so I'll airdrop it to my iPad. And then when I move it into LumaFusion, that's one. So there's now 2 copies of that clip on my iPad, right?
Yeah.
And then when I move that clip into that timeline, it creates a 3rd copy of that clip.
What storage tier did you go with for this iPad?
The 128. So
okay.
You can imagine every 3rd video, I'm deleting everything off my iPad. But yeah, so I mean, outside of that, so basically you have to like cache the system every once in a while, like clear all the cache. There's like little tips and tricks that I've recently found that do help with the storage issue.
Yeah,
because it's huge. It takes up like 80 or 90 gigs of my entire like iPad.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, it's great. So they added the new stabilization feature built in, so you don't need a plugin for it anymore, which is honestly amazing. The stabilization feature built into it, and it's at no extra cost. So if you had LumaFusion, you could still use it. They also added the ability to use plugins, which sometimes is hit or miss depending on the plugin. Sometimes the plugin isn't perfectly, like I use something called Bruce Feet.
Oh, that's an amazing thing. I use it in Fairrate occasionally for the background audio. It's
exactly
it's
so it's a great app to get rid of all that white noise in the background. But there's a plugin for it in LumaFusion, which when it works, it's sick. Yeah. But every once in a while, it'll like kind of break the file, and then it'll like just get rid of all audio on that clip. It's like it's not purpose built.
Same thing in Fairrate. I end up using the app and then importing that in the Fairrate because the plugin, you don't know until it exports what it's going to do.
Exactly. And then like sometimes I don't check the final video, and then people in the comments be like, "You're muted for 2 minutes, dude."
Yeah.
So I have to take the video down. That happened to me one time.
Okay.
Lesson learned. Yeah. Always wants the final export,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, during the preview it can be fine, but then the export, for whatever reason, the plugin bugs out.
So, but yeah, overall LumaFusion for the price. So that's what I tell people, because there's 3 real options if you want to like edit in the Apple world. It's like iMovie, very simple, it's free, very easy to use, it's great for beginners. There's LumaFusion, which is anywhere from $20 to $40, depending on when you buy it, which is like it's closer to Final Cut Pro than it is to iMovie, but it's still not nearly as comprehensive as Final Cut Pro. But then that's the final option in my opinion, $300 for Final Cut Pro. So LumaFusion is that great sweet spot where you can like learn to get a little more creative, learn what it means to have a plugin, learn what it is, like what a LUT is and stuff like that. Like it's pretty comprehensive. So I love LumaFusion, and I haven't needed anything outside of just that plugin situation. Yeah. Outside of that, it's been great. Like zero complaints with LumaFusion.
And
that's probably not even their fault.
The multicam at some point, so it'll match Final Cut's feature there that a lot of people enjoy.
Yeah, the multicam. And what else did they add? Oh, the ability to, which I still haven't done yet. I got to learn how to do it because it's not as easy as it looks. But the ability to work off of an external SSD finally.
Right, which that'd
cool.
be huge, especially with your storage situation.
Exactly.
So and with Thunderbolt, does that inspire you to get like a Thunderbolt SSD so it'd be nice and fast?
Yeah, so I want to get like a T7 or a T5, whatever's cheaper, honestly. They're probably the same thing.
Right.
I think T7 just has a fingerprint reader, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, so I'll pick one of those up, probably a 1 terabyte, just make the investment. And I want to learn how to work off of an SSD with LumaFusion, because it'll probably save a ton of storage.
Oh, for sure. And you won't have to deal with like, that headache of offloading and unloading everything.
Exactly.
And when you airdrop, can you tell to just airdrop to the Files app that would be like a folder on that SSD? Is that a thing?
So you would have to like save the photo into your files.
Yeah.
And then airdrop it from your files for it to show up as a file on your iPad.
Okay.
You know
have
what
to
I mean?
airdrop it from the Files app. Rather, if you airdrop it from the Photos app on your iPhone, it'll just go to Photos automatically without you asking.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to, because I think, you can definitely save photos into the files, and then from files you airdrop into another file into the iPad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's why, the amount, I have so many multiple clips, because sometimes I'll press the airdrop button twice and it'll just send it twice into the iPad. It's so annoying.
What's your recording setup? You have what iPhone, and is it just one iPhone you're capturing with, and how does that all work?
So I have just a bunch of tripods. I have a couple ring lights. I have an external mic that I put underneath me, which has really helped the audio, especially right now where everything's pretty echoey. I've just recently started to put stuff on the wall.
Yeah.
We just moved like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It's pretty much the setup. Normally, so every now and then I'll have a second iPhone, if I'm doing like case videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it's just whatever my iPhone is at the time. So I started with the iPhone 10, then went 11, and then this one, 13 Pro.
Okay.
13 Pro Max.
Using the better camera, and then you just...
Yeah. Make sure my lighting is good. I have great outdoor lighting, so these windows are huge.
Is there a trick to catching the video of the iPhone to know you're lined up properly? Like, do you have a mirror set up so you can see what your iPhone sees? Or
my viewfinder is my Apple Watch.
Brilliant. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing. So I'll sit down, I'll look at my Apple Watch, make sure I'm in frame,
Yeah.
Make sure things look good. And then, sometimes I'll have the camera a little too high when I'm doing overhead shots. So I'll just look at mine. It's perfect.
That's cool.
It's perfect.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That feature's been around for years. People just never used it.
I'll use it for group photos during like Christmas time of year, But outside of that, I don't really use it much.
I was even using it on the OG Apple Watch, like the Series 0.
Yeah.
And it was still
did the trick.
It did the trick. Yeah.
So, Affinity Photo, like how in depth are these thumbnails you're creating, and like what tools that are using within Affinity to do that work?
Mm-hmm. So Affinity's new. Because I used to just kind of take a picture, maybe do a little bit of an edit. I used to use an app called Pixlr.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of it. Very simple. Very simple editing.
Yeah,
app.
I use Pixelmator for the thumbnails I do.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, cool. But it's a very simple app that I would use just kind of because I liked their fonts.
Yeah.
So right. So I would just use them. But I needed to figure out a way to just make my thumbnails a little bit better, so I just had to teach myself Affinity Photo a little bit.
Because thumbnails, I guess, are huge on YouTube. It's like the deciding factor if someone's going to click here is on a options of playing next or something.
And there's only so many things I can do, to make an iPad look cool.
Yeah.
Naturally. Right. So I just kind of learned how to use Affinity Photo. I don't do too much on it. Mm-hmm. It's mostly, it'll probably be like 3-4 layers. I'll usually like mask the iPad screen. So I'll take a screenshot of whatever screen I want, and then I'll just like mask it over the actual image to make it look nice and crisp.
Yeah.
I usually add like a little, I've been doing this lately, which I kind of like how it's been turning out. So I do take just like a white block, and I use this like effect called gauge and blur or something like that. And just kind of stretch it out all the way, and then put some black text over it. Looks kind of nice.
Nice.
So just to kind of get people to understand what's going on, because I have learned a lot that the thumbnail's king.
Yeah.
Right? It's thumbnail and then that first 10 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
And then you kind of go from there.
Right.
So I mean, that's what I've been doing. So I've been doing the Affinity Photo stuff for the last like 6 months because I figured I needed to learn how to do it myself. I can't like rely on somebody.
And did you end up doing videos on Affinity Photo? Is that also like a thing that
I have not done that yet?
Okay.
I'm going to probably soon. Kind of just like what maybe like the top 5 like beginner things to know when using Affinity Photo, because I have learned my way around a little bit, but I've only scratched the surface. Like I probably know like 10-20% of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot in there that's going on.
It's a complicated app. Like it feels like a Mac app. There's a ton of little tiny buttons everywhere. It's an app you want to have an Apple Pencil or a Trackpad for, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, on like literally all the tools, like you can search up the most vague thing on what to do in Affinity Photo, and it'll show up on Google.
Yeah, yeah. There's good tutorials.
So that's and that's how I've learned. I mean, it's literally just like what do I need it to do for me? I'll look up how to do it on Google, and that's kind of how I learned. So once you like know what you need to do on it, then it's pretty easy to navigate.
Yeah.
But if you're like learning something for the first time, it's a pretty tough one to navigate for sure.
Yeah. How do you come up with topics for videos? Like, do you just brainstorm on different iPad things? How does that work for you?
So it's normally like once a week. I'll kind of just sit down, see what I have around me, see what products have come into the studio, and kind of just brainstorm. because normally I can count on at least one iPad OS update video from Apple, right? One beta update per week. There's always accessories. Like I got this, what did I get? It's like a mechanical keyboard that just came in. These are just the keycaps.
Yeah.
But there's like a mechanical keyboard that came in that I got to do a review on,
Yeah.
Which it looks really nice. So it's I like to keep it around 3 or 4 videos a week. It's usually an iPad OS video, an accessories video. Probably there's usually like a software video in there also, like what software I'm using. I've been using like apps like Tascade, Affinity Photo, LumaFusion, things like that. And then whatever kind of comes to me, or maybe, so I usually do maybe like a long-term review on the iPad or a long-term review on the iPhone. Just something that kind of comes to me that I kind of want to talk about at that point.
Yeah.
That's normally how it goes. So I don't really plan them too much, but I usually have like a backlog of 4 to 5 ideas just kind of ready to go.
Okay.
And then once I know which one I want to do, I'll just go from start to finish, point A to point B.
Gotcha.
I don't really like record for like 5 videos at a time or anything like that.
Yeah. And you're trying to output how many videos per week typically? 3 to 4.
Okay. Probably right now it's closer to 3 than it is to 4. But 3 or 4.
Okay.
Is a nice little sweet spot.
And are your videos scripted, or what's your process for getting these done?
They're not really scripted unless there's like a sponsored section that needs to be scripted. But for the most part, I would say like 99% of the time, I'll just have my topics. I'll usually structure the video. So like if I have like my iPad launch and review, I had like 4 topics that I wanted to hit, like versatility, software, design, right? Those things. So I'll put that like in my notes, my Apple notes. I'll kind of like jot down some notes that I want to make sure I hit. But then after that, I just kind of freestyle everything else. So I just make sure I talk about the versatility, like talk about how it is a single task machine, right? Make sure I touch on those points.
Yeah. And
then whatever else kind of comes to mind.
Cool.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah. And then any favorite accessory that's kind of launched in the past 12 months that you've really just loved and continue to use even after you did the review?
Magic Keyboard, obviously.
Yeah.
That one's great. I've been using this Hitachi 2-in-1 like desk charger.
Okay.
Little MagSafe guy.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull it out. It's got the AirPods. This has been on my desk for like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
Right. I know that they have the 3-in-1 now. I kind of want to get my hands on that one. So that's nice. People have been MagSafe. People have been loving those MagSafe battery packs.
I love MagSafe. It is such a
right.
Those videos have got to be popping. People love MagSafe.
No, yeah, I love MagSafe. I love it. But Pitaka's been doing MagSafe for like forever. Have you heard of Pitaka?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're like a case brand. So I've been using them for forever. But this little like battery, it works with MagSafe and with like their like magnet products.
Right.
It's like 5,000 milliamp hours. It's like nice and shiny and pretty.
Nice and small too. Yeah.
Right. You just throw it on there. It does get a little bit warm sometimes, but it's nice.
It happens. Yeah.
But it's nice. So I've had that for like 2 years, and it's still working. And then my Orbit key mat. If you haven't seen the Orbit key, look them up. They're nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Orbit key mats. They're huge. And they're unique because they have like a little, what's it called? Here, let me show you.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot this is audio only, but I'll show you so you can kind of see. So it's kind of like flips up.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So you kind of put like little papers under here. So I've been liking that a lot. It's got a little lip here for your pencils.
It's like a desk work surface almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a desk work surface.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Yeah, one thing I used to use, I loved the old iPad leather sleeve Apple sold for a crazy amount of money on the 1209 because it was like a little work surface almost. Like I put my iPad on the smart keyboard on top of it, and if I just want to use my iPad without the keyboard, I could put that on top of the leather sleeve, and it'd be a nice, safe place to work on. And I kind of miss that as like a work surface almost. Yeah.
No, I think my dad like he went in and bought the whole situation from Apple, which is so weird because he was very anti-Apple before that. He didn't have an iPhone at that point. Right, he was a big Windows guy. He's like, I will never use Mac.
Yeah,
he was that kind of guy,
Yeah.
And then he just came home one day and had all of it, and I was like, what? And I don't understand how like the first iPad with that iPad keyboard and that Apple Pencil was so poorly designed.
It was the leather sleeve. They added that like a year after the fact. It's like, oh, I have a place to hold my pencil. And I actually kind of liked it. And I kind of liked it so much that I like delayed getting the revision with the new hardware. It's like, because I can't use the sleeve with this thing. And I like the magnetic stuff, but I do kind of miss that sleeve where the pencil's not going anywhere when it's in that sleeve.
Yeah.
It's not going to fall off, kind of thing.
That's true. It was a simpler time. And
it was.
The origami keyboard.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, and I never actually experienced the Smart Folio keyboard thing.
Yeah.
It went straight from the origami to the Magic Keyboard. Because the other one, the Smart Folio thing, had also just, it's like, that doesn't look great. I'd rather just keep my origami.
I'm gonna be honest. I liked that one a lot.
You did? Okay.
I liked it just because it was very versatile. Honestly, like I would be in meetings, and then one moment I'd be like typing away. I mean, the typing experience wasn't great. I mean, it's whatever. It wasn't.
I kind of
It was
like
okay.
the fabric thing. Like you could spill drinks on it. It's fine. It's like,
it was very quiet. It was very quiet.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd be like in meetings typing away, and then I would just like fold it behind, put it down, and just start using my Apple Pencil when I need to take handwritten notes. So I loved that situation. Now you can't really do that with the Magic Keyboard, obviously.
No.
You gotta like take it off. I gotta fold it down, put it on top of it.
Yeah.
That's usually my go-to.
Yeah.
Or just take it off and like put it on my lap.
Yeah, thankfully it is so easy to pop on and off. I think it's probably the easiest since the origami was pretty simple, but the origami had its flaws of just the hardware failed after a couple of years, for whatever reason.
It just looks so ugly. Like you would like hold it and it would just hang so low, like the whole thing would just like hang.
Yep.
The thing was so ugly.
Yeah, I do miss the days, the old smart connector. I used a Logitech charging stand at work, and I just pop them on there with external keyboards. I had both iPads, I had 2 charging stands. I just never needed to charge it. It was just always passively charging very, very slowly through that like smart connector. I kind of miss that setup of I guess you can charge with the Magic Keyboard these days, but
I use that charger. Like I'm using it right now. It kind of just depends on the convenience of where the charger is.
Yeah, I like that. The other side from the connector. It's very smart of them to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, I wish I could do more.
Yeah,
it would be cool. Yeah, but also I don't think like the 3-pin connectors are built to transfer data.
Yeah, the next generation smart connector. I want data
transfer.
I want something. Just give me USB 2 speed, something. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think I asked Rene Ritchie on Twitter like a while ago, and then he answered that it was only built to like it could only pass like 0.5 megabyte a second or something like that.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't even be worth putting something on there.
Yeah.
That's why they just kept it to power.
Yeah. But hopefully technology advances forward and that can get better.
100%.
As far as iPad bags and stuff, do you have any favorite brands for that? Like for me, everything that I own is from Waterfield Designs, and that's kind of what I get for all my accessories for carrying stuff.
Waterfield, I've never heard of them. I had to look them up.
Yeah, they've been around forever. They do great stuff. They're at sfbags.com.
Okay, I'll look them up. Now I've been using Neo Smart.
Okay,
they sent me a couple bags like 2 years ago, and I think they're sending me another one soon. But I've been using their one like leather bag.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's vegan leather, but it's really nice.
Okay,
it's got like it's got like one slip compartment which fits literally my Mac and my iPad perfectly with the Magic Keyboard. So it fits them both in there. And it's got just like this huge, just like compartment. It's huge.
Yeah.
But the bag isn't that big, which I like. It's just like and it's a little bit rigid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a camera bag. You know what I mean? Where like the sides are rigid, so you can fit a lot of stuff in there. It's got a few pockets in there for like a mouse. I throw my mouse in there because I like to have my mouse on me.
Yeah.
And a charger. So that's what I've been using. And it's got the little like the USB, like you can put a battery bank in there.
Yeah.
I don't really use that ever, but it's nice to have.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice to have backup power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So Neo Smart, they're good, and they have more casual bags. But I like that one because it looks kind of fancy, but it's not expensive.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good. Good. Whatever you call it.
And it's all black everything, so it's nice and discreet.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you use Microsoft Word and not Word, PowerPoint and Excel, right? Those are the two.
No, I use the entire thing.
Okay.
So I use Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
Is that mainly is that work tasks? I forget what those are being used for.
So when I first started making the iPad Microsoft videos, it was because I was using like my first job out of college. Mm-hmm. We were in the Microsoft suite, right? And I had the iPad, so like I literally had to teach myself. Like I always wondered, like, is it good? Like, can this iPad replicate what this Dell computer that my company gave me,
right?
For like the Microsoft products, right? And for the most part, it could.
Yeah, because my last day job's like this beach ball is spinning. They gave me a Mac, but it was a really old thing. It's like this beach ball spinning. I would grab my iPad a lot, and it's like it's just faster.
I remember they gave me like this chunky Dell Latitude, and I hated Windows too. Mm-hmm. I was so upset. So whatever I could do, I would just like sign into my Microsoft account on the Microsoft applications on the iPad, and it was good to go. For the most part, it worked pretty well. Because again, I wasn't doing, especially on the Excel side. For some people, it's not enough.
You're doing simple data entry.
Data entry, simple formulas, simple formatting, nothing too crazy, and everything that I needed to get done I could do on the iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember,
which was nice.
Back at my old day job, I would have two iPads next to each other, 10.5 and 12.9, and I'd have a reference spreadsheet on one iPad and then my work spreadsheet on the other, and I'd have a keyboard. They hit a button where it swaps between either of them.
So so funny.
So yeah, I'd be using multi-window in that way, where I'm like looking at one thing and entering it in the other screen, and
the original double screen iPad.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, yeah, so that's where the whole like Microsoft on iPad just came to be. So I was like, oh, there's got to be people like in my same situation, like wondering if the iPad can run Microsoft products.
Right.
So that's why I started making the videos, and there was a good amount of people that were curious.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting if you had like a Windows install somewhere to just like, here's the Windows way, here's the iPad way, see how it's not so scary kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really not that bad. And then I think it was like 6 months ago now at this point, when Microsoft released Windows 365. Did you see that? Their virtual machine?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
How was that on
a
iPad?
Cool demo. It was decent. I mean, again, I bought like the cheapest spec because I was just doing it for like demonstration purposes. But it worked fine. Like I think it was expensive though. Like
it's like for
if
business
you thought about
use,
it,
like what, $20 a month or something stupid, if not more.
Yeah, that was the cheapest one, and that got you like, I think it got you 2 gigs of RAM and like 32 gigs of storage.
Yeah,
and it was so like if you wanted to get like a normal PC, like a 16 gig 512, you're spending like $160 a month.
It's crazy. Like I wish, bundle that in the Game Pass. Give me a Windows.
Exactly. So it was very cool for demo purposes. Like I was running full on Windows 11 on my iPad.
Yeah.
Right. And my internet connection
the trackpad thing works well. It just looks like a mouse and acts like a mouse and everything. And
yeah, as long as you use the remote desktop app and you didn't do it through like Safari on iPad, because you could technically go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but in the App Store, there's a Microsoft Remote Desktop app.
And you can just log in there.
Log in, and there's your virtual machine.
That's cool.
And it was cool. So I was like, literally, I had a Windows computer on my iPad if I ever really needed it.
It did audio playback within that, or have they?
It did.
It does.
Audio played back through it. Yeah,
that's cool.
It did. It didn't work with Bluetooth, weirdly.
Huh.
So my AirPods wouldn't connect my AirPods.
Okay. Video playback, would that be too laggy to do stuff like that?
As long as your internet connection is strong.
Huh.
So my internet I have strong internet connection, so I didn't worry about that. But if they claim you need at least 25 up. 25 down, which I think they need more. I think you need at least like 100 down. Let's be honest. You need like 100 down for it to work fluidly, like for it to work well.
Yeah.
20. If you only have like 25 megs down, it's not going to be a good experience.
Now you should try another video: Game Pass games that are like Windows exclusive through the VM.
Ooh, okay.
You might need a beefier subscription though.
Yeah. It's like a Windows Inception inside of the iPad.
Yeah, right. You're streaming a stream. I guess you can download games into Game Pass on Windows, so it'd be like
you probably
streaming
could.
a download at that point.
Yeah, so I mean, I tried pretty much. I didn't try gaming on it because again, I only had like 2 gigs of RAM.
Right.
I don't even think I could download I could barely download Microsoft Suite. I mean, I think it was like built into it, but I was running the Microsoft Suite fine. I had like 6, 7 Edge.
Yeah, you have a real browser.
Edge. Yeah, real Edge browser experience. They were fine. I was running a YouTube video on one.
And you can install apps because it's like your install you're paying for, so you can install like if you want Chrome on that thing, you could put Chrome on it.
Exactly. So it's literally like you have your own computer. It's just in some server.
Yeah,
some server
I hope
somewhere.
they get consumer level pricing. So I think right now it's just business advertised and business pricing.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can go in and just buy it right now. But yeah, it is a little pricey. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna make it, because then I don't know. Because again, if you think about it, you get the most expensive one. It's like $160 or $180 a month.
You just buy a computer and remote into it if you want to do that.
Exactly, right? Because you'll be spending what, $2,500 for just a year, or something like that, or $2,000 a year.
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
No. PowerPoint versus Keynote. Any thoughts there?
I use them both. They're both really good.
Yeah.
I tend to gravitate a little bit more towards PowerPoint.
Okay, interesting.
Not for any particular reason.
Yeah.
I think it's just because the people I communicate with play in Microsoft Suite a little bit more, so maybe I'm just more used to it.
Yeah, and if you send them a file, you don't have to translate it and hope for the best.
Exactly. Or like if I forget to export it as a PPT, then people are like, I can't open this. Like and then people freak out.
Yep.
Like, relax. I'll send it again.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's why. But for the most part, they can both do the same thing. They both have great feature sets.
Yeah.
Like I've built everything from just a classic PowerPoint presentation to like mocking up like apps inside of both.
Okay.
So they're both pretty powerful.
Okay.
I like them both.
That's cool. Yeah. I remember Keynote being like, "Oh, this is the one app from Apple and the iWork suite that's like better."
That's good. Yeah. It's definitely good, and it's definitely it's more like airy. I would describe it, right? A lot less buttons.
Yeah.
Right. Versus Microsoft, everything's like in your freaking face. It's like,
yeah,
you need this specific color. All right, here it is.
Yeah.
Versus the Keynote, you got to go look for it a little bit, but I kind of prefer that. Again, less distraction.
Right.
But it's cool.
What do you use your Mac for? Like, you mentioned you use the iPad for like everything because it's like a more enjoyable experience. But what's like the 5% that you still, I need the Mac to do this or want to do it there?
It's when I have like 3 or 4 or 5 PowerPoints that I'm working on at the same time.
Okay.
And I need to manipulate data. Like I need to like pull a logo from this one and move it to the other one quickly and drag it, so it's multi-window.
Yeah. That's
what it is. Like a real version of a secondary monitor support and multi-window support, right? Because all the Microsoft applications on iPad, you can multitask with instances of themselves. You can.
So you can do 2, but not 4.
Yeah, but it also works with the app shelf. So you can have 4, 5, 6 backloaded.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
And swap between them.
You could do this. It'd just be a lot of like swipe it over.
It's a little bit more tedious, right? And I haven't, especially when I'm like trying to get a lot of stuff done.
Makes sense.
I'm not going to dive in there and try to get something that I could do in like half an hour and get it done in an hour on the iPad,
Yeah.
So that's literally the only use case. And I have the baseline MacBook Air, which is, again, it's another, like the M1 chip. That's another thing. I have 8 gigs of RAM, and this thing handles everything.
Yeah.
And it's never gotten hot.
Have you gotten RAM warnings on yours? Because we have one in the house, and we occasionally get RAM warnings. And then I discovered, I need to uninstall these Rosetta versions of Office, which were on it.
I do get a lot of RAM warnings. It's from like the MacPaw thing. I get them all day, every day.
Yeah, sometimes that's the one thing that there was something that we still occasionally get as the RAM stuff.
Okay. No, I do get that, but I don't know. It doesn't really translate into anything. Like sometimes I'll say like free up space, sometimes I'll say ignore, and like nothing changes.
Yeah, it's weird because like the swapping doesn't seem to be an issue with SSDs as fast as RAM. I don't get like why they warn you at this point.
Yeah, but overall, I've been very happy with the Mac. Like what I use the MacBook Air for, it's been perfect. I've not edited a video on here, so don't get it if you're gonna like do a lot of like 4K editing on Final Cut Pro.
But at the same time, you could.
People say it still works.
I edited on my MacBook Air for 2011 in Final Cut Pro. It wasn't 4K, mind you, but it still ran Final Cut pretty well. And actually, I think I probably did play around with 4K, and it'll do it fine. The export just takes forever. And if you're not dealing with, I don't know.
No, I used. Yeah. I think I used maybe like a 2012 or 2013 MacBook Air, but I had like a pirated version of Final Cut Pro back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's what I would use to edit, and it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
It worked fine. Better. Obviously, I had better hardware, but
yeah. So I'm sure you could definitely do it now. But yeah, so even if you're dealing with like 100 lines or 100 rows of whatever on Excel, it still works.
Yeah.
That's another thing. That's another thing where Excel beats numbers. If I try to open a big numbers file, I get the beach ball. I get the beach ball, which is so sad.
It is.
Versus in Excel, it opens. And mind you, I'm on the same exact computer.
That's
opening them side by side. Yeah,
Excel numbers feels like it's designed for like a very small, like
it's for you to like do your at-home budget.
Visually pretty spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's for you to do like your monthly budgeting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So if iPad OS updates this year with like true Windows support on a monitor, that might be what you need, and you can.
Yeah, because I don't want Mac OS on the iPad.
Yeah, you just want like quick note Windows version.
Yeah, I love iPad OS. And the App Store on the iPad is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So like, don't replace it with Mac OS. Just give me some sort of multi-window support, like floating windows.
Yeah.
And then I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah. Hopefully they get there.
Yeah.
The quick note gives me hope because that thing is great.
Right. A little something. Yeah. Because I don't know, Apple, like the last 2 updates, if it wasn't for universal control, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
So it would have been a while because we got like Scribble with 14, which. When's the last time you scribbled?
Yeah, I don't use it much. The last update, what it really did is it let people that don't use a keyboard or their iPad use all the multitasking.
Yeah, multitasking easier.
Yeah, if you're a tablet user, it was huge. If you're a keyboard user, it's like, I already have this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it, actually. I like that. Because I did like what they did with the multitasking, the gesture-based made it a little bit more functional, I think.
Yeah, because before I'd be on my iPad. Oh, I gotta put on the keyboard to pull up Spotlight and do this thing. Get around on just the tablet. Well, anyways, this has been a ton of fun. Where can people find your videos and your channel?
Just look up Fernando Silva iPad. It's under Nando Prince. Just kind of kept that for a very, very long time.
Cool.
Because I grew up in Princeton.
Yeah.
Fernando. I think that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, and then I'm also on Twitter. Big on Twitter. Nando Prince 93.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It's been great, and hopefully I can chat with you later.
Oh yeah, let's do it, Tim. No, I appreciate you having me.
Well, that was my review with Fernando. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel and his Twitter at NandoPrince93. My thanks again to Fernando for his time recording this conversation. My thanks to you for your time and attention tuning in. As a reminder, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/iPadPros or by subscribing in Apple Podcasts. My thanks to everyone that supports the podcast. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. With that, I'll talk to everyone again real soon.